entertains you. Movieland's got the movies you want to see. That's entertainment. There's something there for all the family. The best of the old, more of the new. You know we got the movies that are just right for you. Let us entertain you, and you have a real good time. Movieland will entertain you.
Now, shh, quiet. Don't make a sound. There's monsters under the ground. No, it's just Brent Maddock joining us in the Movieland spotlight, a director, writer, and producer known from his work from the classic films Short Circuit, Batteries Not Included, and one of the lead men behind Stampede Entertainment, which brought you the Tremors movies. Well, we're not on top of the roof or stranded in the middle of nowhere on solid rock, but we've got Burt Gummer on speed dial, so don't worry. But Brent, I'm nervous as a chihuahua. I'm not nervous. I'm alert. But please tell me a little bit, buddy, how you got started in the film industry and who inspired you.
That's good. I like that. I like that dialogue. That's great. That's good. Well, yeah, I started off, my dad had this goes back long time. He had an 8mm movie camera. And he just let me borrow it whenever I wanted to if I could afford the film. The little 50-foot roll of film that would go in there. And I would make home movies like most kids, and then learn to edit them together and all that stuff. So that's something I played around with a lot when I was about 10, 12 years old. When I went away to college, was interested in theater, acting, and directing plays in college, but also got to borrow this rare thing called a video camera. And it was black and white, reel-to-reel videotape, like really an ancient thing, but really cool because you could shoot it and instantly look at the image. And it recorded sound, which was amazing. I would borrow that from the art department. There was no film program where I went to college. I would write short movie ideas and get my friends together and shoot them. I was shooting a movie one morning and I was in it and I was directing it and I did a stunt in it. I did a fight scene and did a stunt and I broke my neck. So this was the age, I was 19. And so I was in the hospital and learning to walk again and going through all that crazy stuff. So I wasn't acting anymore, but I kept making movies. Then I had a friend in college who got a really good Super 8 movie camera, a sophisticated one. So I started writing more elaborate, 10 or 15-minute movies. And I did that. And then I was able to, get somebody's 16mm camera and shot a bunch of movies in 16mm, which felt like real filmmaking to me. Got out of college and didn't know what I was going to do. So I applied to film school. I got into USC in Los Angeles, moved to LA, and I went there for a couple of years and made a bunch of movies there. None of them were very good, but it's you learn by your mistakes. It was really fun, and I met Steve Wilson, who became my writing and producing partner. Luckily, the first guy I met when I walked in there was Steve, and I just walked up to him and started talking to him. I was like, we could have just forgotten school, saved all that money, and then I met Ron. I think the second guy I met was Ron Underwood, who directed Tremors. And we clicked, and we have a lot in common and we have a lot not in common. So I think that made that dynamic work. Then I got a master's degree in cinema, the most useless graduate degree you can get. Nobody ever asks you when you try to get into the film business, do you have a college degree in this thing? But I started editing film at film school. I was really good at it. At least I had the patience. And so when I got out of film school, I started editing short films for people, educationals and industrials and things like that. And Steve was doing something similar. We started these films for very little money, but it was enough to pay the rent. We kept dreaming about doing, feature films, or what we call real movies. We would write stuff. We were roommates for a long time. We would write ideas, and they weren't very good. Finally, Steve did a short film. Steve was also into stop motion animation. He was really good at it. He was quite passionate about it. He did a film for schools, how to write an essay or how to write a report. was a live action short film, but one of the characters in that film was a stop motion animated robot. And it was quite good. And we thought, well, if we write a movie about a robot, then we could use this film to help raise the money to go make it ourselves. So we spent about 2 years writing Short Circuit. That's a long story, but we got no money. We're living in these crappy apartments in Hollywood, but we got the screenplay through a friend of a friend to the son of a big producer. He called us up and said he wanted to buy the screenplay, and for more money than we had ever seen in our lives. And we said, no, I think we'll go get an agent and then we'll come back to you. So we got an agent, which is easy to do when somebody wants to buy you a screenplay, And the agent was Nancy Roberts, who was terrific. And so she got it around to other people and everybody read it and wanted to buy it. So the amount of money kept going up, 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 up. We eventually sold it to the first producer, David Foster, for many, many, many times what he offered us. And so that became Short Circuit. That got made. John Badham directed it, who had just done Saturday Night Fever, so very different kind of movie. And then that moment in your career where everybody's your friend, is like invite you to lunch to some fancy restaurant. It was awful. It would be like Steve and I would say, well, okay, we got to go to this restaurant. We've never been to any of these restaurants. And it would be like, how do we do this without having to use valet parking? It's like, I feel bad. Some guys got to go park my car for me. It's just like, that's just wrong, So we got, we just started getting paid to write movies. We worked for Spielberg for a couple of years, which was really fun. So that's how we got in. We wrote the right movie at the right time and we were able to get it to somebody. But that's after, 10 or 12 years of thinking maybe you made a big mistake as far as your career goes, because we weren't getting anywhere. We were finally getting to the age where, like, the guys you went to high school with, they were buying nice cars and they were getting married. Some of them were even buying a house. And we still felt like we were 18 years old because that's how we were living. Nothing had changed. So you begin to think, well, maybe I made a mistake. So yeah, that's how it happened for us.
It's good because you got that experience time. You made some short films, and obviously, yeah, you hit the ground running once you got your first film, Short Circuit. Me researching you on Tremors, I didn't realize that you wrote Short Circuit of Batteries Not Included until just this week. So I'm blown away that not only am I a massive fan of Tremors, I love Short Circuit and Batteries Not Included. So you hit 3 gold mines there. So congratulations. But yeah, talking about Short Circuit for a minute, you said you kind of were doing a stop motion kind of thing together. So I just wanted to know how the idea of Short Circuit came about.
I'm trying to, go. That's a good question because of the robot that Steve had built for that educational film, we thought we could make a movie and do it in stop motion animation, not the way it was done in Short Circuit, but actually do it stop motion animation, really, really low budget. We have a very expansive quality when we write. It's like, let's just make it great, So the budget, we don't even pay attention to the budget. The movie's getting more expensive as you work on it. But even Tremors, a lot of stuff with Tremors that we had to cut out of the script and not film. Some stuff we filmed and we didn't use, but we had a lot of really good ideas in Tremors, but it was ridiculous. Given the small amount of money the studio gave us to make that movie. I think I forget the initial ideas for Short Circuit, other than, hijinks with a robot. It was a while into the process when when it hit us, like that lightning strike in Short Circuit. What if this robot comes to life? And I thought, yeah, it's Pinocchio. It's Pinocchio and it's Frankenstein.
I see that.
It comes to life. And once we had that, it really opened the door to what the movie could be. And this miracle happens. And we said, well, what's the conflict? Well, the conflict is he's dangerous, but he doesn't know it. but the goal is to convince the guy who created him, the scientist, to convince. He's the hardest guy to convince because he's the guy who built the robot. If he can convince the scientist that he's alive, then he'll be able to escape. But that took a long time to get. It would be great if you could come up with that idea in the first 5 minutes of the project. A lot of it is just exploration. It's a lot of writing stuff that might be wonderful you're going to throw away because it doesn't serve the purpose. But you don't know what your purpose is yet. Hard part about writing is it takes much longer than people realize. I mean, you probably know this, but I have people show me screenplays. What do you think of my screenplay? And I go, what draft is it? I go, it's the second draft. The second draft. It's just like Short Circuit. The draft we sold was draft 22. We still worked on it after we sold it. So that's where the idea came from. It came from like, it comes from beating your head against the wall. Not giving. It's about not giving up. That's all. So you've got to have that quality, and you got to be a little bit obsessed. Otherwise, you'd give up. You go, well, this is ridiculous. There's other things to do in life. Yeah, we were happy that people liked it. That really helped us get more work, which is great.
Yeah, it was such a great film. Like I seen it at a very young age, and I still today quote it every now and then. Number 5's alive, or floor, ceiling, Beasley. Like it's just always in my head.
That's good. It's nice to hear these quotes because I've forgotten all of them. Worked out well. I think we were lucky on that one. It's easy to write a good screenplay and be disappointed in the film. It's hard to be a writer because in so many ways it's the director's medium, and the director, he wants to do his or her vision of it. I think that sometimes it's great because it's a better movie for that, but sometimes it's not, and then it sort of breaks your heart.
I get you. Yeah, no, a lot of sacrifice in there, and I'm glad you stuck with it. But I've got a really important question about Short Circuit that I've been bubbling about while you've been talking.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? Had to do it.
Okay.
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
What is going on?
A number of quotes of this stuff that's popped up. I've seen these T-shirts from Tremors and Short Circuit. I don't know who these people are selling these T-shirts. As a writer, you feel good. Oh yeah. I wrote a T-shirt. So it's funny. It's nice.
It's brilliant, buddy. Very, very, very brilliant. But yeah, there's a great cast in this film. So you got Fisher Stevens. I love him from the Mario Brothers movie and Hackers. And Ali Sheedy, actually, I only just realized she's from Breakfast Club recently. Putting two different completely characters. So she, I did not recognize her from that. But yeah, one thing about Short Circuit that has really been on my mind, especially around, I was thinking it was around 2008. This animated film came out, and off the bat, I said, "Oh, that's a Short Circuit remake." WALL-E, tell me about it. What is your impression on this?
Well, I like WALL-E a lot. I wanted to hate it because I thought, well, they kind of ripped off the look of number 5, but it's a wonderful film. I mean, boy, it's just great. Yeah.
As I watched it first, I thought this is just an adaptation of Short Circuit, but they deny like any resemblance to it. So yeah, I just want to know your opinion on it.
Well, I think it's a really good movie. I think, it does look like number 5. I mean, come on, there's no reason not to just cop to it and go, yeah, we liked number 5, so we did it. It's not the same story, and it's really good. I don't have a problem with, except it looked. I think they could have done. They could have made the robot look different. I think it would have made their movie better. The thing about the robot was when we sold the script for Short Circuit, we spent some time with artists who were sketching ideas for what the robot should look like. It was instantly obvious, some of these ideas. It's like, you need 2 eyes. The eyes are the most important part. There were sketches with robots with 1 eye, and other ones I don't remember. We're so attuned to reading someone's thoughts and their emotions and their soul through their eyes. And we happen to have 2 eyes. That's what works for us. So WALL-E with two eyes, of course, that's fine. I think they could have adjusted it a little bit, not to look like number five's younger brother. But it was a good movie. It was very thoughtful and beautifully done.
Yeah, for the longest time, I always thought it was an adaptation of it. So, that just confused me, just researching, thinking that it was completely unrelated. They're obviously just trying to sneakily dodge the IP, which they kind of did with the slight alterations, I guess. But
it's fine. It was very, very well done. But I think a lot of people were confused.
The next film you put out was Batteries Not Included, about a bunch of miniature UFOs that save an apartment complex from being demolished, which also captured the attention of Steven Spielberg, who executive produced this film. How was it working on this one?
Well, that started actually, Steven called Steve and me to come in and meet him, which we did at Ablin Entertainment, which is, where he was running his career and making movies on the Universal backlot. He had a bunch of projects going. There were a number of things. He asked us to rewrite a script called Ghost Boy, a comedy. We read it, said it should be called Ghost Dad. The father should be the main character. It's a father who dies but comes back as a ghost to take care of his family. Ultimately, the film turned out to be terrible, but that's a long story.
I disagree. I liked that one when it came out.
Oh, well, good. Okay. And Steven liked our script a lot. We were really, delighted, of course, that he liked it. Rewrote another script, animated movie there called The Land Before Time, about a bunch of dinosaurs.
Yep.
We didn't get credit on it. Steven said he felt he couldn't give us credit because he had made a promise to the original writers. But there was a little thank you credit on the end of that movie to us.
Wait. So you wrote the majority of that film?
Well, yeah, what we did was, we restructured it because the structure didn't work, and we added different characters. I'm sure there's some of the original characters, the basic idea of these little dinosaurs on a quest. And he liked what we did, and that movie got made. But then, Batteries Not Included was a project they were already working on, and it wasn't our original idea at all.
Oh, okay.
Matthew Robbins was the director and one of the writers, and it needed a lot of work, so we got asked to do that, and we spent a long time writing that, rewriting that, writing it. I can't remember what's original in there and what's not, but that was a long project. Yeah, that's pretty much what we did.
No, it takes a lot to, take something that's already in progress and redevelop it in a way to make it work when it's not your original idea. Like, that would definitely take some mind power to definitely execute. But Batteries Not Included is flawless. Like, all of the characters, the actors that played them is such a brilliant and beautiful film. So, like, whatever you did there, I'm sure it definitely helped, because that's why they hired you, because it needed help.
Yeah, well, I mean, the power you have if you're brought into a project is you have objectivity. It's really hard, as you know, when you're working on something, especially for a long time, you lose your perspective. So you can come in and solve a lot of problems. The other thing is, Steve, my partner, Steve Wilson, and I, we really tried to not change anything that works. There's a whole thing with the Writers Guild of America. There's arbitration committees that decide who gets credit and who doesn't. I'm sure there are writers who come in and they change lots of things just so they can claim a portion of the credit. And we don't do that. We change stuff for the right reason. It might not be any better, but it's the best we can do. It's what we did with the movie Heart and Souls. It was the same thing. There was a script already, but it really wasn't working. So Steve and I rewrote that, and then we shared credit with the original writers on that, which was appropriate because it was their original idea.
Oh, that's another great film, by the way. Robert Downey Jr. in his early roles too, so a brilliant film.
Yeah, people like that. That was an interesting movie, and Ron directed that. Our buddy Ron did that, who also directed Tremors. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, creating anything, it's hard to keep an objective view of what it is because you're so into it. One of the things that helps as a writer is, listen to what other people are saying about your script.
Yeah.
If they're just not excited, and don't think your screenplay is good because your mother says it's great.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the description of a loser, let me tell you. My mom thinks it's good. Yeah. I've seen these screenplays. And when I read their screenplay, it's a lot of work to read a screenplay. I start giving them notes and they begin to defend themselves like, oh, I'm wrong and you're right. Why did I have to read your screenplay? I mean, I'm just telling you what I think. If you're not interested, why did you ask me to read the screenplay? Those are people who are not going to succeed.
Constructive criticism is the best. It means that you're paying attention to every detail rather than just going, yeah, I hate that advice, where it's just like, yeah, it's good. It just makes you feel like they didn't actually pay attention or properly review it. They just like, dismiss it, or they're just trying to be equally supportive but don't really care. So like the fact that you've gone through that extra mile, I'll take negative attention on board all the time to improve in every way possible. So yeah, good on you for that.
Yeah, we all need help. It doesn't mean that you're obligated to take every note you get. Don't be defensive, man. Be open and go consider it. And then, make your own choice. You have that moment in life when you realize, oh, I'm not a genius. I thought I was going to be a genius. It's like, well, now it's just going to be hard work. Take the help that's offered.
Absolutely. Well, now I was roughly 12 when I came across your next film by accident. And it was actually the sequel that I seen first. And I only got to see the first half of it, which drove me nuts because I had to leave the place it was playing at. But later, trying to rent the film so I could finish it off, the name slipped my mind. And I was hunting the video store for Graboid, the movie, the video store.
Oh, it's funny. That's the movie in itself. I could see you wandering these late night streets with the rain falling, and your parents are wondering, and where is he? He didn't come home. You're looking for the lost video. That's great. And only that will complete your life. It's like the Holy Grail. That's good. I like that idea.
Brilliant. Yeah, the video store clerk definitely scrunched their face up me and lo and behold said, no, we don't have Graboid the movie. And it took me several months to again accidentally stumble upon the movie in a different video store. As I found the artwork on the VHS looked familiar. It was Tremors, I screamed, jumping for joy. I'd finally get the shot at watching it again, and unlike today, like you got streaming services and you're able to resume with history of where you left off, back in our day, you had to rent it, and the chances of finding it at your local store was slim, like especially older films, or if you see it on TV, the TV now, you can't pause or rewind, by the way, and try to remember the title when the title slips up. So yeah, I started with Tremors 2. And later rewound once I eventually, probably months to years later, found Tremors 1. So Tremors 2 was my first impression.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved it, by the way. But I've got to rewind back before I start talking about Tremors 2 and talk about Tremors 1. How did the idea of Tremors come about and the inspiration for it?
A lot of people don't realize this. It's like most of what writers in Hollywood write never gets made. I've known guys who've had careers, a studio might hire them to write a script, or a production company might buy a script that they've written, so they make a living. But it's rare that these screenplays ever get made into a movie because that's a big investment. We had been writing on assignment, and a lot of what we wrote got made. But every now and then, even though we were being paid by a studio, the film didn't get made for a variety of reasons. The star they wanted, who seemed to be interested in early discussions, is off making another movie. Director they wanted is going to go do something else. He's not interested in the project anymore. So if you're a writer and you don't have a movie to your credit, it doesn't mean you're untalented. It just means you're unlucky. Our manager, an agent, Nancy Roberts, said we should just go off and write our own script on spec, something that we'd like to make and produce it, write it and produce it, which we did. We actually said no to a couple of offers from studios to write movies. So we were kissing off a lot of money. That wasn't important to us. So we went through, we've got notebooks full of ideas that you write down over the years. And so I went through all of my little spiral notebooks, and Steve went through I think he had a box full of scraps of paper with ideas on it. And he came across a note he had written down for a movie. In the summer here in Southern California, Steve would go out into the desert. He had a job as a naval weapons testing center out in the Mojave Desert. It sounds really gruesome. If you're going to test weapons, the desert's the best place to do it. And so he got a job there as a film editor. The films would be these things, high-speed camera, filming an explosion. And of course, it would be thousands of feet of film because you have to run it because you're looking at the slow motion image. And on his days off, he would take his 4-wheel drive car and just drive around in the desert. And he was sitting on a bunch of boulders in the middle of the desert. And he had the thought, what if there was a creature or creatures under the ground and I couldn't get off this rock? What would happen? That was the note. So we thought that had possibilities. So that's when we started working on the idea. Obviously, it worked out. But it was also an idea that we thought we could do well, but for not a lot of money, because for most of the movie, there is no monster,
Right.
And which, of course, really helped. And it also made the film more unique. But first, we had to write it, and then we had to find a studio who would give us the money. And Universal went for it. And then we had to sell our buddy Ron to direct it. Ron had directed things, but he hadn't directed a feature film before.
Right.
And they were like, you don't just give a movie, let this guy direct it, when there's, 100 other people who directed lots of movies. But we insisted, we said, the deal is Steve and I will produce and Ron will direct. You take it or leave it. They finally said yes. So we were good to go, on a small budget, but and we went off and made it.
Yeah, that doesn't even look like a small budget to me, the first one. And to hear about the budget cuts on the second one, which we'll touch base later, it's just, you guys did well with what you had. Like, you really did. So applause on that. Like, you made it work, and it's brilliant.
We were lucky that we could go to a good location up in Lone Pine, California, which is a 3-hour drive north into the desert. But that really gave the movie that look of a real movie. And we couldn't afford that with the Tremors sequels, 2, 3, and 4, which we made. We didn't make the other ones. That we had to film right very close to Los Angeles, just about an hour drive north. But that first film had the Sierra Nevada mountains, which you see in every great cowboy movie. It's a lovely location.
So the third film didn't return to the original perfection location. It was just something similar.
That was that was built near Los Angeles.
Right.
A modified. So and it's close enough, but it's just not the same thing.
It fooled me. Let's talk about graboids for a second. So basically, my impression is the idea or inspiration may have came from sharks. So it's basically, instead of water, you got the dirt. Do you reckon that is kind of a...
We think so. In fact, I think we were calling it land shark.
Yeah.
Originally, which was a running gag on Saturday Night Live already, one of their comedy sketches. But we weren't going to call it land sharks, but that was the working title. Yeah, that's the base, like a predator that's beneath the surface. Steve is a real science fiction and horror movie buff. He knows way more about those films than I do. I mean, as a kid, he would go to the movies every weekend, and he would watch the movie 2 or 3 times. I wasn't. I didn't dislike those films. I just didn't go to the movies very much as a kid. And I wasn't familiar with all this stuff that he was. So when we wrote it, it was good. It was a good combination of Steve understanding the genre and me having no particular fondness for it. So we could come at it from let's make the people pretty intelligent. Let's not have a stupid woman who doesn't know what she's doing, you know. Let's have the guys be witty.
Yeah.
Let's not have the stiff characters.
Yeah.
That we always get from these for the movies in that genre. Let's have these guys be kind of cool. I think that elevated the movie just beyond the monster action stuff.
Above and beyond, like that's one thing. Like I'm not a huge horror buff, but like that's one thing that saved the film for me. Like most of the other films, like you look at, I'm not bagging on, they're still great films, but the whole victim story, it really drags on and it makes it kind of really serious and boring. Then the serial killer comes up, it's exciting, but take that away, all the drama and the serious and all that, and add some humor. And then there's the monster. It's twice the excitement. It's funny, exciting. It's great balance there, and it worked perfectly. Maybe they didn't accept it at the time, but it's right now. Every film is doing it now. Like there's so many new films that just hit the cinema. Heart Eyes and The Monkey, and they're all serious horror films with so much humor in between it all. It's brilliant.
It's a very delicate thing. The tone of the movie.
Yeah.
Is the most delicate thing, and you've got to get the tone right.
Yeah.
There was more comedy in Tremors, all the way up to the point at which Universal bought it and gave us the money to go make it. We had to make a big decision. We realized this is how we made the decision on whether to cut stuff out or not, other than for budget reasons. And that was, did we want the audience to take the danger presented by the graboids seriously? So when somebody got swallowed, is that a laugh or is that at least a sad moment? And we said, no, we want them to take the monsters seriously. So if that's the tone you want, then we had to go back and take moments out of the film that were funny, but they were too funny. It's a real balance. I mean, you could do a war movie that's a very honest depiction of war, but every now and then there's going to be a funny moment. So you got to find the right balance, the right formula between those two. And I think that was the right choice.
Oh, you definitely did it. I can't imagine anymore, like anyone laughing at someone getting eaten. So you definitely had the right choices made.
Yeah, it would have made it, it's a comedy about these, because you can laugh at the graboids all you want. These big fat, turds under the ground swallowing, a bunch of idiots in the desert. You could do that. And I like these films too, farces, broad comedies, but that's not what we went for. You got to know what you want. One of the hard things in making a film is when you've got different people who are have some control over the movie, and they're all making a different movie. I thought it was a comedy. No, I thought it was a tragedy. I thought it was, it's like you got to get it together and know what film you're making, and then don't let little things, because the actors will come up with ideas that are just not stupid, but they're just wrong for that movie. I mean, it goes down to things like you've got an actor wearing the wrong shirt. That matters, think all the details matter, but you got to lock down on what kind of movie you're making, and then just hope it's the right choice. For Tremors, it worked out. People expected something different, especially when you look at the one sheet and all this. You go, okay, I get a kind of another cheesy, low budget, monster movie. Maybe it's good. I don't know. And I think the fact that the tone was smarter really surprised people. Not that it made any money until it went to video. I think that it's nice to be surprised in the right direction.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I love that reference to the big fat turds under the ground. That's forever going to stick to me now. But yeah, no, you definitely had the right balance of comedy and horror in there. And personally, I think the second film has more tension and horror in there. Like I remember when I first seen it, 12, 13, like around the scenes, no spoilers, where Grady and Earl are like stuck walking with the thing in the middle of the night. Like that scene terrified me, you know, like they could be coming anywhere. Like the tension and horror in Tremors 2 like really scared me compared to the first one. Rewinding back just to the graboids, big fat turds under the ground. No way these are local boys. They're not from outer space.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Fred Ward. I love the way he did that line. Yeah, we had an interesting discussion because, you know, everybody, before we shot the movie, is like, you're going to explain where they came from, right?
Yeah.
We decided not to, but we also decided to address the issue. It's like, we don't know where they came, but we did that scene for that reason. Yeah. You know, a movie that has a problem, and the problem would be people want to know where it came from, and you didn't address it. We didn't have an explanation. We're going to have them sitting on that big boulder talking about it. I think most of the audience was satisfied with that. They weren't ignored. We just didn't have an answer.
Yeah, I think Tremors 2 kind of touched base on it more, how they were saying they're Precambrian life forms, that they were older than dinosaurs. Was that kind of cementing it then?
Yeah, because then we addressed the graboid eggs.
Yes.
By Tremors 4, the graboid eggs were part of that story. Yeah, I like the idea in Tremors that we don't give people an answer. But I like the idea that everybody's got a wacky theory.
I like the idea of them. They could have been around during dinosaur days, but I like to ponder, do you think they'd be the alpha of the food chain in the dino ages? Maybe it wasn't the meteorite that took out the dinosaurs. It was all the graboids taking out the T-Rexes for being too loud. Mother humpers.
Oh, that's an idea. I hadn't thought about that. It wasn't an asteroid. It was this creature. Yeah. That could be a future movie. Yeah, T-Rex versus graboid. I mean, it's so easy to go in so many directions. It's always a question of, it's like, at what point does it turn to cheese? You know, it's just, there's a moment. It's like, all right, you've gone from something that's okay to something that's just pure cheesiness. And you've got to guard again. You don't want to cross that line.
Yeah, no, I got you. I ponder a lot of weird sequel and prequel ideas on the show, so I do apologize. But yeah,
that's good.
The idea of hunting by sound's brilliant, and but the most haunting is how smart they become. But the funny part is also they're so smart because they're so stupid. Exploding graboids, fishing for gaboids. How fun was that doing all the explosions?
Well, it was fun. That's always a thrill when you're out there. It takes forever to set up these shots. It's really fun when you can blow something up. You know, you got 100 people on the crew standing around. Everybody's cheering. Okay, we got that shot. That's wonderful. And then that moment, if you remember the thing where right towards the end of Tremors, Val and Earl and Rod end up, before that, we do the thing where they throw the bomb out there, tied to a rope. And the first graboid blows up, and we cut to the rock, and you see all of the,
graboid guts
splattered across the rock. We got everybody on the crew to stand behind the camera, as many guts as they can hold, and on cue, everybody hurls that stuff at the rock. And I think you have this moment of you going, it's an interesting way to make a living. Because you're holding like three pieces in both hands, so you can throw as many as quickly as possible. But that's a big thing. It's such a basic thing. It's goo. It's just gory goo, and yet it's so primal that it's kind of a yucky thrill for the audience. So that worked out well.
I love the sequel, how they use umbrellas. That's great.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you like it. I thought that was great too. Yeah, they're like getting their game together now.
Yeah.
They'd be ready. They would know. Bert's got an army helmet that he puts on. And, this is how, it's like the difference between an amateur golfer and a professional golfer. He's got everything he needs.
Absolutely. Well, how was it casting Val and Earl? Like, was there any memorable candidates that didn't make the cut, or people that you wanted to play him that couldn't?
Well, the studio gives you a long list. Here's 20 names. The list is, these are people we would accept at the budget level that we're going to give you. So you're not going to get whoever would have been more expensive at the time. I don't know. John Travolta was on the list. I mean, it's hard to imagine it because, it's, you can only see, think of the film as Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. That was great. That worked out really. That chemistry really important to that film. You want to get the right two guys. Gee, I probably have that list. It's probably 5 feet away from me right now in a file cabinet. The other names on the list, but I don't remember any of them. And they were all good. Well, Michael had been on a TV show and was pretty well known on TV. I was vaguely aware of him. I wasn't watching a lot of TV. He came in and auditioned and did a great job. And he was like, oh, this guy. Yeah, this guy, this is the guy. So that was wonderful. And then the studio said, what about Reba McEntire to play his wife? And I had heard the name Reba McEntire. I had no idea who she was. But she's a big country western singing star. And it was the studio and the MCA Records, they were the same company. So it would promote her career as a singing star, although she was huge at that point. So, in fact, I walk in the office and she's sitting in the hallway, and I nodded to her and walked right by her. I didn't know who this was. And it was like, oh, that's Reba, nice to meet you. And of course, she was great too. She was a lot of fun to work with. I know Bill Paxton, who's no longer with us, a wonderful actor. Ron worked with him later on a remake of Mighty Joe Young. Bill Paxton was in Alien, actually. Twister, yeah. And a really good and a really lovely guy. We were really thinking of him to play Val.
Wow.
And we went with Kevin. And but 2 or 3 years later, I go visit Ron on the set of Mighty Joe Young. And Paxton walks up to me and he said, you didn't put me in Tremors. It was big. He was being funny. It's like, yeah, okay, sorry. He would have been good too. But
I can picture Bill Paxton doing Val. I really can, and that's good that he was enthusiastic about it. But seeing those two contenders, John Travolta, Bill Paxton, I can see. Not so much John Travolta doing it, but I can see Bill Paxton doing it.
Yeah, Paxton would have done well, really well. He was actually, he could ride a horse, and he could. I don't know if he was from Texas, but he had some real roots. Yeah, we had a funny moment when we were shooting. We needed the shot of when Val and Earl get on horseback and ride across the desert. And then, of course, they encounter the graboid who kills their horses. And so we're standing there getting ready for the shot. And I say, we're the producers. I go, can Fred and Kevin actually ride a horse? we never even asked them, Oh, no. Which was cool because, of course, they can ride a horse. They had no problem. They get on the horse and gallop away. So that's a prepared actor. Casting is its own art form. It's very, very difficult because you've got trying to see what the audience would see with that character. And you don't want to blow it because all your good writing and all the hard work wasted if you got the wrong guy out there. You don't ever want to have to do what Steven Spielberg did on Back to the Future.
But yeah, hypothetically speaking, if you could cast anyone other than who's already been in Tremors, who would you like to see in a Tremors movie facing off against the graboids?
Oh, I don't really know. I don't know. There's so many good actors, and I'm not even familiar with most of them. There isn't anyone where you sort of nurse that along. Yeah, I would love to. It's like the boxing or something. We got to get these two guys together. Can we set up the fight? Here's an interesting thing. It just prompted a thought. I like to have a thought every day if possible. you don't want to put up against somebody like Stallone or Schwarzenegger or larger than life. There's a bunch of, newer guys now. Somehow it seems unfair. You want to put the everyman up against them. And I think the fun with Tremors is it's like these two guys. They're like two average guys who don't quite have their life together. They triumph in the end. Bodybuilders or, famous football players or something. It's not that interesting.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, you did definitely perfectly cast them. And I love the comedy side, as I say. But if I had to pitch a couple of people to do it, I had this funny idea just recently that Chris Farley and David Spade were in a Predator movie recently, and I thought it would be funny putting him in a Tremors movie as well. It'd be great because Chris would always accidentally be making excessive amounts of loud noises, screaming and running, with Spade awkwardly squirming behind. Well,
That's funny. That's really funny.
but yeah, you could also go really goofy with Tremors and go ahead and put Jim Carrey in there. And I was thinking of this Ace Ventura style pet detective. He gets called to rescue a bunch of animals from the graboids, or in fact, trying to save the graboids from extinction. But
you have a whole new genre. You're combining the idea of being stuck in the desert where your life depends on silence, and you're stuck with Farley. That's just great. He can't not make noise.
yeah, absolutely. He just he's sleeping, and then all of a sudden, all these things fall over. He's like, no.
I had lunch with him one day,
Oh yeah.
and it was a movie that Universal was going to let me direct. We never quite got the script together. It was a good idea. Another writing team, a couple of friends of mine wrote it. But so I went to lunch with Farley. We're going to have Michael. This is a long time ago, of course, Michael J. Fox. We were talking to him. His buddy in the movie would be Chris Farley. But they were lovely guys. Chris Farley, it was so funny because I thought, we're going to have lunch. It's going to be kind of wild and out of control. He was so quiet. And shy. And, I thought, well, interesting. Your impression of someone's persona as an actor and who they really are the difference is always interesting.
Oh, that's something I can come to acknowledge. Like Tom Green, for example, I expected him to be really crazy because of all of his, TV, movies, and everything. And I met him in person, and he was just so relaxed. And yes, it gives you a different perspective for sure.
Yeah, it's quite often surprising.
All right. So who was the inspiration for Val and Earl while writing those two characters?
That's a good question. Wow. I think Steve and I have an affinity for those kind of guys in general. We used to, back when we were in film school and had no money, we would go out to the desert, drive around in the middle of nowhere, way out there. Well, you understand it being Australian, it's just, you could wander. It's just great. You'd stop, sleep on the ground, wake up at 2 a.m. as the longest freight train in the history of the world is going by you. These 3-mile long trains that just keep going. It's really fun. And you'd run into people who lived out there. The idea of an Asian general store or restaurant is an idea we got from wandering the desert. There seemed to be, you'd go into these little teeny towns in the middle of nowhere, and the running joke was there's always a Chinese restaurant, and we thought, well, we got to put a Chinese guy. Originally, it was Vietnamese, but we changed it when Victor Wong was cast because he's Chinese. That's why Chang's store is there. So we got that idea, and we knew what those little towns looked like. Working class, blue collar, working class guys. I think we just know a lot of them. We didn't want them to be scientists. We didn't want them to be SEAL Team 7 guys. We wanted them to be likable, average guys who are going nowhere fast. I mean, you knew that. We all knew these guys in high school, you know, nice guys, and you know they're going to end up working in their father's garage. I mean, they're not going to have a great achievement in their life, and I think everybody relates to that.
Was it always the intention to make sequels for Tremors, or was it always the intention just to do the one?
I think the idea was just to do the one. With the surprise success of it, then Universal was open the idea of, you know, low budget sequels, direct to video, as it used to be called, direct to video. You know, then a whole new thing starts. As you know, well, what do we do now? I mean, generally, you take your best shot of the first movie, and you go, okay, we used up all the good ideas. What do we do now? And then you got to make the movie so quickly. It's a joke. It's like you have to just shoot, and which is frustrating as filmmakers because, you know, you've got a lot of ideas. To shoot a movie in a feature film with action and shoot it in 20 days or 21 days is absurd.
Really? Yeah. It's just rushing ideas.
When I was directing Tremors 3 with the ass blasters in it, and we're out there, it's like, you just show up at dawn. Okay, what are we shooting first? And then the your assistant director says, by noon we ought to be on this scene. The creatures fly over you, and they're shooting these guns up at them, and all. And I remember having a moment with, who the hell wrote this thing? You know, and then you begin to hate yourself because your writing is ambitious, but you have to go so fast that, you know, the movie could be better if you had more days. I think Tremors took 45 days to shoot. So you're trying to do Tremors in 21 days. Somebody's going to pay for that. But we're happy to make the movies. I mean, it was still fun experiences.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a hefty schedule. But when it came to Tremors 2, was it a challenge to write around not having Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, it was always a challenge because, you know, we were not going to have that dynamic that everybody loved with Fred and Kevin.
The intention was obviously to bring him back, but he was busy. That was right.
Yeah, I think Kevin just didn't want to do this stuff anymore. The thought was, we were told by Universal that they would entertain the idea of doing it as a theatrical release film. You know, if Kevin would come back and go, yeah, he's not going to come back for a direct-to-video movie. So, you know, we were hoping that would happen. We went to New York to meet Kevin and showed him some of the animation tests for the Shriekers, which looked pretty impressive. Now, he was conflicted about doing the first movie, and the idea of doing a sequel, just not something he was interested in, which was disappointing. But I totally understand it.
Yeah. So was there any like ideas kind of penned with him in it? Like, did you write much story, like kind of, you know, planning to have him a part of the second film?
Yeah, we had a draft of that. That's what we were hoping to do. So then you have to go back and figure out, well, who's the sidekick going to be? How do they get together? You know, then what's the dynamic between Fred? So Fred becomes the star, Fred Ward. You got to figure that out without ruining your story.
On the second film, on Wikipedia is noted that a big tank scene with Bert was cut out. I was curious, was this scene recycled to the opening of the third film?
You know, I don't remember anything about an army tank. In Tremors 3, we've got the giant machine gun, the 50 caliber machine gun in the back of that transport truck.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember shooting that scene was fun because...
Oh, it was a good scene.
Here's a story about it that was funny. That's the last scene we shot in the movie. So we're out there in the hills, 4 a.m. It's really cold because we're in the desert. In the distance, you can see suburbia, like the furthest reach northward of LA suburbia. That's where people buy houses and then commute an hour into LA to go to work because nobody can afford a house in Los Angeles. So it's 4 a.m. and we start to shoot that scene. That's a hell of a gun if you've ever been around those things.
No.
And we're shooting, and it all goes great. And then I don't know what this was. A month or two later, I'm talking to somebody. I don't remember where. Turns out he's one of the guys who who owned one of those houses. That's where he lived. I don't know who this guy was. And he said to me, "What the hell were you doing out there? You woke up the whole neighborhood. It's 4 o'clock in the morning." I thought it was really funny. He's complaining like you've got a dog that's barking, right? We're just shooting this awesome gun. I'd never even thought about, we're waking up thousands of people to get our shot for the movie.
Oh wow, that's I gotta rewatch that scene now. Thinking you guys are really shooting guns at 4 a.m. That's amazing.
A little bit rude of us, but yeah, I thought that was an effective scene. I don't know.
It definitely was. But yeah, something about Tremors 2 that's been on my mind for a long time. Hoping you can answer this question. The ready-to-eat sandwiches. Now, I'm one to ponder. Whose idea was that, and why was there toilet paper in the sandwich?
Oh, well, this was all survival stuff. This is the kind of thing the Army provides.
Right.
So you got this thing of, and we love the syntax of the Army is everything is backwards, meals ready to eat, We'd say, well, they're ready to eat meals. It's like, no, meals ready to eat. Because they got to be filed away under meals. And then what kind of meals? Oh, we'll go to the ready to eat meals. It's the ridiculous nature of the military and bureaucracy. I thought that was funny, but that's how they're labeled. So it's very Bert-like stuff. He's prepared for everything that can happen.
Yeah, I was just curious why the toilet paper was in there. It's like, man, this stuff tastes like toilet paper. Like, yeah, that is the toilet paper. Fred did very well carrying the film and had great chemistry with Chris, who played Grady. And I was really hoping the two of them would reunite for Tremors 3. And I was kind of curious, because Fred nor Grady reprised their role in Tremors 3, it kind of seemed like the character in Tremors 3, Desert Jack, was kind of like Grady's character transformed a little bit. Was that kind of the idea? Is it because like he's doing like the attraction rides like Grady was talking about doing in the second film? Was Chris kind of like approached to kind of be in the third film and declined, and you redesigned it?
That's a really good question. I feel like a fool because I don't have an answer to that. I don't know what Chris was doing because he's a great guy and a really good actor. He did a great job in Tremors 2. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to find out. I'll have to ask Steve. He'll probably remember. And then we had Sean Christian in Tremors 3. He was terrific. He was really, really fun to work with also.
He was still good, the Desert Jack character, but it just screamed Grady for me with doing the theme park attraction kind of ride. So like I was thinking, it had to be redesigned at some point. I seen Tremors 2 when it kind of hit videotapes. The Tremors 3 wasn't out. But when I was little, I couldn't help be desperate for a sequel. So I wrote a script for Tremors 3 when I was probably 15. I remember I drew up the cover. My imagination obviously was Grady and Earl coming back, but fighting a gigantic graboid. At this time, I had no recollection or knowledge of the movie Dune and the Sand Monsters, but that's kind of the sheer size. I was expecting these, in my imagination, of these graboids to be like a mother-sized graboids swallowing buildings, for example. But yeah, that was my imagination there.
No, I admire that. I admire that you would do that. Yeah. A lot of the artwork that fans have done, I mean, you're well aware of it. Some of it's quite beautiful. It tends to go towards, the graboid is bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
And, which is nice. It's an indication of the size of the thing is an indication of their enthusiasm for the thing. And you could do that. I don't know how you would justify suddenly there's these mega graboids, megaboids. We've just gone through everything,
Yeah.
This gigantic graboid is actually carrying a dozen graboids inside and all of that stuff. It can go in so many different directions. But it's also difficult because you have a tone and you have a certain reality to it that you got to be faithful to. If someone's doing a sequel or a remake of something you like, there's a moment when you can kind of break it. You go, no way. No, that was stupid,
Yeah. I got to be honest, like I loved the Shriekers in the second film and the natural graboids. But the third film, the ass blasters, I was kind of, I wasn't really loving them.
Yeah. Well, that's what do they call it? Jump the shark.
I don't hate them, but I was kind of looking at them a little ridiculous. I still love Tremors 3. I think that film's great. But yeah, I just couldn't help but feel they're too cheesy. They're not scary. They're just kind of stupid. But I did like some of the parts of it was good.
Interesting. You sort of create this universe. How far should you go? Yeah, it's difficult. You want to go, well, what's new about the new film? And you may not be able to solve it either. You may not, if you're trying to repeat the thrill of the first movie, you may not do that. The studio doesn't care as long as they can make money. You want to surprise, every time you want to surprise the audience.
I think keeping it as a mystery, like if you were to continue in that aspect of storytelling rather than giving them a new version of the monster, a better way to steer it. But yeah, the mystery side of it, especially the first film delivers that. I mean, for the first half of the film, you think these are above ground monsters or a serial killer, for example, and you don't even know that they have no eyes or anything. That mystery, like building and going on of what's going on, is great. So you could still return to that moving forward.
Yeah, the mystery was really important in the first film because that gave you, increasing tension.
Absolutely. Well, I feel I was denied critical, need to know information. The Tremors reboot with Kevin Bacon, the TV series pilot that was filmed. What do you think of that? And have you actually seen it?
No, I haven't seen it. I tend to avoid things that people say, don't go see it. You won't like it. I don't need to take on that kind of stuff. Steve saw it, I'm assuming it didn't work. I mean, I get what everybody's attempt is with this stuff. Yeah, I don't really need to see it.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of the fourth film. The fifth film was okay. 6, 7. I love 1, 2, 3. And I really wanted Red Ward back, Kevin Bacon, and Christopher, who played Grady. And yeah, Bert, we love Bert. Bert's amazing, and he carried those other films, and he did it well. But the magic's not there, and obviously, I've come to learn as I'm getting older in age and researching movies, it's all about the director and writer. So, having you guys back behind the helm would definitely serve things, but having Kevin Bacon back was what got me excited for the Tremors TV reboot. I did see the trailer, and I got to admit, putting it over 5, 6, and 7. Is that where we're at? 7, I think it is. It looked way better than the last 3 that came out. The CGI, but just seeing Kevin back is what I think needs to happen. But the most, saddest and depressing thing about this that still beats me up about this is the fact that a rumor was around that Fred was going to join that TV series with Kevin reuniting Val and Earl, and now that happened just before Fred's passing. That is impossible to do now. So that was the one only opportunity to make that happen, and it's not going to happen. So it's sad that that TV pilot may never see the light of day, and I'm confused why they won't just put it out there now that it's never going to progress. I mean, it's been more than a couple of years now since the release of the trailer. I would pay endless amounts just to see it for myself.
Well, I'm always interested in the thought process with studios and networks and stuff. I often don't understand what they're doing. I'm sure there's reasons, they're smart people. It may be something contractually that they can't get around, or maybe, who knows? I don't know. It's a different world. They have different concerns. Yeah, it would have been great. Kevin and Fred together again in a well-written movie, well-directed. That would have been the ideal. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for this stuff. We're in the era now of remakes, reboots, and there's some interest, certainly with Tremors. We're not really sure what the film should be. I don't want to do a remake. They did it with Prey for Predator. It doesn't thrill me. Not that it wouldn't be successful, but it's we already told the story. I'd rather do something with it that's new. We're not there yet. We don't know.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Stampede Entertainment, which is your company that wrote Tremors 1, 2, 3, 4, relinquished the rights or sold the rights off, and it was made by a different company for a few sequels. And just recently, Stampede recently reacquired the rights to Tremors. And so it seems like at this point, you're still on the drawing board about what you want to do. You haven't actually progressed any steps towards.
Well, you've got What happened is the U.S. rights to Tremors went back to us, but the worldwide rights are still held by Universal. So if there's going to be another Tremors film, it's going to have to be a co-production between our little company and Universal. Universal is not going to make a movie they can show everywhere, but can't show it in the U.S. and vice versa. So it's complicated. I don't understand it all. It's all lawyer stuff. I mean, Steve and I have been talking a lot about what a future Tremors could be. That's not a remake. Let's do the same story again. I don't like the idea because it's not Kevin and Fred, and it's going to be two guys sort of playing, not specifically Kevin and Fred, but two guys or a guy and a woman. It feels kind of hollow to me.
Is this a possibility of happening? That you're saying the rights are tied up still, matter of fact of speaking, because I thought I seen an announcement that you guys were working on one. So is it still potential to happen?
Yeah, there's a potential if we can make a deal. I don't know. I don't understand this stuff. No one's talked to me about it. But I mean, Steve and I have been throwing around ideas for a long time. And it's challenging. As I said, it's hard to, what do you do that's new and exciting, that's worthy of the franchise? You really don't want to do a movie that's, even while you're making it, you're thinking, well, it won't be as good as the first one, but the super fans will go see it. Well, why would you do that? Let's make something that's not as good. That's not a good approach. So we've been struggling on it.
I think the main excitement with the TV series reboot was having Kevin Bacon back. So getting the original cast back would be definitely exciting for everyone. So getting the story, that's in your department. So I really can't comment too much besides throw my ridiculous Chris Farley sequel ideas at you. But yes, where to take Tremors from here, I'd like to hear other people's opinion on it too.
No, it's fine. Yeah, people do come up to me and give me their. They're doing it in a lighthearted way.
If you were to do it, will the other movies after Tremors 4 be canon, or would you write those off?
Yeah, the attitude, we'll pretend they never happened.
So Bert will be back then.
Yeah, I've never seen those films. So they're dead to me because I never saw them. I don't want to put them down. I mean, they did the best they could. And they were even lower budget than Tremors 2, 3, and 4, but they shot it in South Africa.
I can see it's personal and I understand why, but what you got to do is bring it down to Australia. I know you almost did it with Tremors 2, but because of the budget cuts, you moved to Mexico, but now's the time. The new Tremors is in Australia and you bring Kevin Bacon back.
I'd love to do that. Yeah, I'd love to shoot in Australia. That would be great.
What we're going to do, Graboids are chasing kangaroos around. There's the opening scene. They're making too much noise. Sold.
Good. That's good. I like that.
I'd definitely love to see Chris back, Grady Hoover. I don't think he's been gets enough credit. I really loved his character, and really like to see him back.
He really shined in that movie. It's great. I don't know what he's up to now in his career. He was terrific. Yeah, I would love to work with him again. Very, very, very good guy and very cool guy.
Yeah, we could call the sequel Monster World or Worm World.
Yeah.
Monsterland.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the names he called it.
I know. Well, maybe we should see that in a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Grady Hoover's World of Natural Wonders. That's what it was. That's the name of the movie.
That's interesting. I'll have to chew on that for a while.
Yeah, I think we center around Grady. That's where we start. Just recently, obviously, I got to see Tremors on the big screen in Australia. There was a special retro screening hosted in my hometown of Adelaide, hosted by a group called the Bonfire Horror Cinema Club. They play on the last Friday of every month a retro horror movie at Palace Nova Cinemas in Adelaide, South Australia. I was helping promote the film, and I went to go see it. This was actually just last weekend, so it was kind of cool bouncing emails with you just as I'm headed downtown to see Tremors on the big screen. It's like, wow.
That's great. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's a thrill when, because you forget about this stuff. You make a movie and you realize, far, far away from you, somebody could be watching that movie right now. And you forget about that. You suddenly, when you find out, oh, yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody in Australia. This was years ago. I guess it had to be movie related. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a writer or something. Yeah, we were talking, and his kids were in the back room. And he goes, "You know what my kids are doing right now?" I go, "What?" They're in the back room watching Short Circuit. And I thought, that's really cool. See, that's worth more than the money. Just that moment, I got a call one day. Some woman tracked me down back from the East Coast, called the Writers Guild, got my name, called my agent, got my home phone number when she explained who she was, and or email. She emailed me because in the movie Heart and Souls, Alfred Woodard's character, there's a scene where she sings this lullaby to her baby. She hears that later in the movie. She sees her grown son singing it to his baby, and she realizes, oh, here's her long lost son. So I wrote that little song, and there's a music credit at the end. She got a hold of me and said, that's the lullaby she sings to her daughter every night. Wow, I'd completely forgotten about that song. So I called her up. We had a long talk. It was really great. I just thought, that's great.
That's very special. It seems like, these movies and projects are like little babies. You make them, you spend so much time with them, you put them out in the world, and then one day they kind of reappear in the background with a bunch of other people. Like, hey, that's my thing.
Yeah, it's great. It's very much like having kids. Yeah. You just go, oh, yeah, they turned out okay. They're not perfect, but they turned out okay. So yeah, that's really satisfying. It's a nice feeling that the stuff matters enough for people to remember it. That's nice. Would like to do more, but we just don't want to do bad work. We don't want to do, we don't want to do stuff that, we feel apologetic about.
I got you. Yeah. I think you would do it. Just take your time. You got the time to take your time now to do that. But yeah, I know you won't disappoint or do something you don't want to do. So I'm looking forward to what you do. But yeah, coming back to the Tremors screening, by the way, you're going to be satisfied to know that place was one of the biggest cinemas in that complex. Yeah. There's had to be at least 300 seats, and I've probably seen about 3 empty seats. It was packed. Absolutely. Right. So yeah, it's the first time I've watched Tremors with that many people, and everyone was laughing. There was people I could hear, like they raised their hands at the start saying who hasn't seen Tremors before. There's a lot of new hands, so there's a lot of new people going in there too. So you could hear their genuine reactions of laughter and fear, and it was amazing just to listen to people react to the movie while you watch it rather than listen to it in your own silence.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, nothing can replace the communal feeling watching it in the theater. Because there's a whole level of energy that comes, and it's great fun. That's just great. We can't lose that. That would be a tragedy. But how cool! That's just great. Yeah, that's good. I'll tell Steve that. He'll get a kick out of it.
It's definitely great how cinemas are playing old movies at the cinema now. Like seeing Tremors is definitely was on my bucket list, and I got to say, Tremors 2 being my favorite, but I rewatched that one more frequently. But watching the first one again, I forgot the sheer amazement of the rec room scene where the graboid breaks in and Bert and Reba. That was great in the cinema. Just all the gunshots and just the annihilation of people.
That was a great moment. Because Steve my partner's into guns. He's a gun guy. He never shoots them. He just got these guns, and he knows all about. Because I mean, he'll shoot it on a target range. He's not a hunter. And I don't know where the idea came from, but we loved it. The idea, the big reveal of all these guns on the wall. That's a great movement.
I love how it was shot too. Like I was just about to comment on that part, like because it just kind of doesn't show the gun wall when the graboid first comes through. It just shows them with a couple of guns, and then they back up, and then the wall just expands. It's like, oh yeah, there's all these guns. You're great.
Yeah, that's the major moment in the scene, and that worked out well.
Broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, no, that was fun. That's a lovely scene. It's nice when a scene works out the way you envisioned it, because sometimes it's not quite as good. It's good, but it's not really what you dreamed. But that worked out really well. As a filmmaker, you just wish you had more time, because you're always going, if I had 2 more days, or 3 more days, this moment would have been better. That moment, it's like anything. It's like when you're doing your homework in high school. If you just had 1 more day, the thing you're writing would have been better. But that's life.
Last but not least on my list, can I pay tribute to Tremors and challenge you to a game of rock, paper, scissors?
That's good. Yeah, people like that. All right, we're gonna do it.
You're gonna do it,
guys. 1,
2,
3. I got paper.
Rock rips the paper.
Rock rips the paper.
I was hoping you'd go with paper. I could say that.
That's good.
Thank you so much. Paper always wraps rock.
Yeah, that was fun. Did you played that game in Australia, right? When you were a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. I do it more now than ever because of the movie, but we definitely did.
Yeah. There was always a kid who wanted to change the rules.
Right. Yeah. One more thing on Tremors.
Yeah.
One last thing. More of a show and tell. I just recently acquired this 4K release of Tremors 2. Are you aware of that one?
I'm not aware of anything. That looks great. Yeah,
this is done by Arrow. They've done the first one as well. Obviously, it pulls out.
That's lovely.
Got the 4K case there.
Oh, yeah. That's lovely.
Actually, photos and...
Oh, look at that. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
There he is. Michael.
There's a lot of cool stuff. I got one last show and tell for you. This one's actually ancient, and I do have the actual rental store VHS as well, but that's pretty common to see. But this one is a bit more ancient than videotape. Laserdisc.
Oh, you got the Laserdisc. Yeah. I know Ron's got one of those. The Laserdisc. Oh, look at that. That's great. That's great.
I have Tremors 2 as well on Laserdisc, but this is the one I pulled out because the cover's a bit more, full on. I actually have the one sheet poster as well. I actually had it since I was 12, but it's quite banged up now, unfortunately, because I hung it so many times, which is sad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you probably had it on the wall with some sellotape and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Ripped all on the corners.
Yeah, we all did that. There's that age when you just plaster your bedroom with
you'll do it.
Your AC/DC poster and all the stuff you were into when you're 12.
Here at Movieland, we love recommending movies. Can you suggest us 6 movies to watch, old or new? Sky's the limit.
Well, one film that I was really impressed by was the English film Attack the Block. I thought that was a brilliant film, beautifully done. Dr. Strangelove was an absolute classic film. I saw that, I guess I was 13, at the Rome Theater in Pleasantville, New York. There's a French-Canadian film that I haven't seen that a filmmaker buddy of mine said I got to see. It's called Red Rooms. Great film with John Cusack called Identity. Did you ever see that one?
No.
Ray Liotta and John Cusack, among others. Pretty much all takes place in a motel in the desert. It's quite trippy. It's quite good. I'm feeling responsible now. I don't want to mention any duds to people. Red Rocket, what the hell that has to do with the movie, I don't know. But it's a terrific movie, really well acted. There's 1,000 movies that I love. I'm still scanning my Post-it notes. I would say, a movie that was, I did my master's thesis at USC on the French filmmaker Jacques Tati. I don't know if you know him, but certainly Mr. Hulot's Holiday, I would recommend. It's just a great, great comedy. I would also recommend Hard Day's Night, and truly a great movie. And it could have been so cheesy, like all those pop star movies of the day, which they were making a lot of, and they were all terrible. But Hard Day's Night was a real classic, an absolute classic. Even if you're not into the Beatles' music, and it's great film. It's just so clever. That's what I would throw at you at the moment.
All right, buddy. I just got to say, it's been amazing chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to be kind, rewind, and get up on your roof. Really looking forward to what you do with the Tremors franchise in the future, buddy. Take care of yourself.